Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. A lot of fans, Andy, on the YouTube page piling on Anthony Davis. Does he deserve it? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always free. It's never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 23,000 subscribers are all hanging out, wondering if the Lakers have another miracle in them. And if they're reading, Andy, the comments section of the YouTube page, they're seeing a lot of flack going towards Anthony Davis, who has missed 7 of the last 8 quarters for the Lakers. And those been 7 really important quarters, just like regular ones. These are like really high leverage quarters he has not been playing.
To the best of our knowledge, as of this recording, there has been no update as to Anthony Davis's status or even more details in terms of what specifically was keeping him out of the loss against Golden State. We're told nausea and headaches, which feel concussion-y, even though Darvin Ham said that Anthony Davis was not in the concussion protocol, although I kept waiting for the phrase yet to come out. But it could have been related to the illness that Lebron had to fight through just to play in that game himself. It could be he's not dealing with a concussion, but he is still just dealing with one mother of a headache that is basically incapacitating him.
Right. I mean, from playing, throwing up, all these other. He was in the building on Tuesday, and it was ultimately decided that he shouldn't play. I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. And there's
no practice, by the way, today. The Lakers have already announced there won't be one before the team goes to Memphis. So the reason that matters isn't even that AD would be practicing. That's where you might get more updates. Darvin Ham in front of the team, that sort of thing.
I think the next big update will be, did one and or both of those guys travel? And we'll see. We'll see some updates about that, and maybe even ask the question whether or not at this point, with the Lakers not locked into the 10 seed, but looking very strongly like they could be the 10th seed, and playing Memphis on Friday, a team that quite frankly they should be able to beat without one or both of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I mean, the Grizzlies are playing, I'm not even sure, Andy, you could call it a G League lineup at this point. It's like sub G League. They've played 50 different players this season, based on because of injuries and tanking. So I don't know what's going on over there, but the Lakers with their the remaining players outside their big two ought to be able to win that game. So we'll talk a little bit about that. This question of Anthony Davis, though, sort of being questioned by a lot of Lakers fans, and it was happening on Lakers Twitter. It was happening on the YouTube page for this show. I'm not saying
I heard it come up on 710 ESPN, the ESPN affiliate in Los Angeles. Listening to some of the daily programming, it came up there as well.
By the way, that is the home station of the Lakers, so it's not like it's some sort of like anti-Lakers operation they've got going on over there.
No, you and I both work there, actually, and very much, I can tell you right now, the station's rooting for the Lakers.
No, everyone wants the Lakers to win. Like, we wanted to win for this show. They wanted to win for those shows. Everyone wants the Lakers to win. So don't be sitting at home going, you guys in the media love when the Lakers say. No, we do not. We would love for this team to be a 2 seed right now, and we're talking about the first couple rounds of the playoffs. Trust me. But I gotta say, while I get the frustration and I understand the reputation and I understand the sort of framing that even I really do think that like a player like Kobe Bryant still has on the fan base, in which, the willingness of players to quote unquote play through it, to show up on the floor or not, in a lot of ways, I still think is framed through that prism of Kobe would have. I think it's pretty easy. It's not easy to feel a lot of empathy for the Lakers right now in this thing, but I do feel some empathy for Anthony Davis when it comes to this particular criticism of missing these games. I actually had somebody text me and be like, he's got to be really sick, right? I'm like, of course he is. Like, he's not just sitting out, for God's sakes. But I mean, that's where we are.
Look, I think people who regularly listen to this show know that we're both pretty willing to be candid with what we think. We don't hold back a lot of opinion. Contrary to what we occasionally see in the YouTube comment section, neither one of us is employed by the Lakers. We do not cash a check that in any way comes from the Lakers. The Lakers have absolutely no control over what we say at all. So we will talk pretty freely about this team. And
trust me, if they were paying me, I would be super complimentary of where they are right now.
No, absolutely. I'm willing to sell out too. I just haven't made the offer. But and I'm pretty willing to give my opinion on just about anything when it comes to sports and when it comes to athletes and when it comes to this team or whatever. But the one place that consistently I will not go is questioning whether or not guys can be on the floor. That is basically the one area where I'm like, look, it is not my body. It is not my injury. Not all injuries are the same. Not all bodily reactions to an injury are the same. It is also incredibly easy for somebody who is not playing in the game to just say somebody could get through it if they just willed their way through it. That is the one place I won't go. I'm not saying that it is impossible that Anthony Davis couldn't have somehow found a way to get through it, just because a lot of things are technically possible. But I am inclined to give pretty much all athletes the benefit of the doubt when it comes to injuries and the call being made about whether or not they could be out there. But especially this season for Anthony Davis, when he's played through stuff that quite frankly seems more, if nothing else, physically taxing and painful to get through, and the efforts that we've seen him make, like the original eye injury, when the thing was actually swelling up in real time while AD was on the court, he was trying to play through that.
He was.
So, look, I'm not going to tell people how to feel, especially because I know it won't make a damn bit of difference. But
some of it's just based in the frustration of the moment and the context of where the Lakers are. But not
a lot of it's AD's rep.
Correct.
And if nothing else, this situation shows that AD will probably never escape that entirely.
It's just a shame, because I agree with you. I mean, first of all, the logic of I put my body through, proverbial hell to play and what's he going to end up at, around 70 games? I don't have it in front of me, but like a lot.
Yes.
When we were all worried if he was going to play 50 coming into the season, the idea that he would in this moment,
he's played 74.
Okay. So he's, he was on pace to play, 75, 76, 77 games. The idea that he would just choose this one, you know what? It's a home game against the Warriors. If we lose, we're going to be the 10. If we win, we could be the 6. I just don't feel like suiting up tonight. After doing all that other stuff, it is ludicrous. And I feel bad for AD. I feel real empathy for AD because we can talk a little bit more about this after the break. It's not, I feel like this unfairly undercuts what he has accomplished this year. So I'm curious if you think that if that's the perception you're getting. Talk a little bit more about this and really what the Lakers ought to do this weekend. Coming up next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver who likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capability to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue, it's perfect for city drives, great escapes. The class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone like you're a Luddite or something like that. Google Assistant, I hope I used the word right. Google Assistant, Google Maps,
Assistant?
Google Play Store.
Yeah, you used Assistant correctly.
They're built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment center. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure, and the incredible lineup of Nissan also includes the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. They got room up to 8 in that vehicle, an expansive cargo capacity, and advanced available 4x4 capability. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada, and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com.
Just like a programming note here, for the Lakers and for the rest of the year, the hits do keep on coming. The sting of the missed opportunity of the last couple of games continue to keep stinging. The Nuggets beat the Timberwolves on Wednesday night in Denver and now control their own destiny to be the number 1 seed in the West. So if the Lakers do manage to, assuming they stay in the 10 or the 9, and they do manage to kind of get through that gauntlet, get themselves, win 2 games, get out of the Western Conference play-in tournament, they will be rewarded most likely with a first-round matchup against Denver. So things really did look a lot better a week ago. I wish we could all go back to that place just for a little bit longer because it was nicer than where we are now. We've talked a lot about how Anthony Davis is one of those guys, and I do think maybe I'm missing something around the league. We don't cover every star in the same way, and perception and context are influenced by those types of things. I don't think the bar moves on any star in the NBA more than it moves on Anthony Davis. I think, when he has stretches of MVP caliber play, he'll play, 10 games in a row where he carries a team on both sides of the ball and is playing as well as anybody in the league. If the 11th is a bit of a clunker, this guy never does, it's not good enough. It's like and the focus tends to be on what isn't Anthony Davis doing for you more than what is he doing for you. And a moment like this, where he just gets bashed in the head and then sick at the wrong time, presumably sick. I still am not 100% convinced the only reason he's not in the concussion protocol is they just won't let the doctor find him. Oh, he was just in this room. I said, we'll go over there and we'll look for him. I feel bad for him because I feel like this is unfair. This is bad luck. People get sick. People get hit in the head, and he doesn't deserve the criticism for this moment. This isn't soft glass. AD can't be relied on. It's a bummer because he's played so well this year.
I think a lot of it has to do with AD's personality. I mean, he does not have a super alpha male, looks like he will cut your throat for the fun of it on the court type personality, type image. And to be clear, that was who Kobe truly was as a competitor. I mean, Kobe, by his own admission, we've had those conversations with him. He was willing to concede, the way I am, it ain't healthy. Like, I don't recommend this for everybody, even though I would demand it from all of my teammates. I
demand it's a good idea.
I demand that they be as unhealthy as I am, at least as long as we're teammates. They can go back to living normal lives the minute they're with another team. But like, Kobe was really like that, but that in part fueled whatever type of benefit of the doubt he would ever get if he couldn't play through something. I mean, granted, he was the toughest, most, able to handle physical pain at a level more than any athlete I ever have been around. Like, it was remarkable. But you and I, for example, covered Lamar Odom when he was with Kobe. Lamar played through a lot of stuff, like a lot, that Lamar did not get the same type of credit for, in part because I don't think Lamar actively made it as part of his own mythology, but also Lamar did not have the alpha personality that Kobe had.
Well, just, I mean, broadly, there are a lot of guys, you get further and further down, this sort of the NBA pecking order. There are dudes who are playing with injuries that, normal people wouldn't be able to, get through their daily functions. And they don't talk about it because they don't want even to promote any kind of excuse or reason to get them out of
or an area to target.
Right. Or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's a really interesting point you're making. That if AD presented sort of differently about these things, because there are a lot of guys in the league, particularly now, miss a lot of games. Like, it ain't just him. And to this point,
like, nobody questions Kawhi Leonard's toughness, but Kawhi Leonard has 2 finals MVPs and is seen rightly as a guy who is a killer when he's healthy. And Anthony Davis has never been seen as a killer that way, even when Anthony Davis is having like a season like this one or other ones where he's killing a lot of dudes when he's on the court, but he's not seen as a killer.
And it's, again, like, I feel some empathy here for AD because it is just a shame to see a moment like this undercut what has been a overall fantastic season for him. You cannot ask, more games, more minutes. We've seen part of the reason the Lakers gave up 26 3-pointers it sounds maybe counterintuitive because they're far away from the basket. But part of the reason that the Lakers gave up 26 3-pointers on Tuesday night against Golden State was because Anthony Davis wasn't there to organize the defense. Anthony Davis wasn't there as a safety net to allow guys on the perimeter to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more aggressive, knowing that if they got blown by, you have that help there or whatever it might be. Like, when Anthony Davis doesn't play, the Lakers defense is catastrophic. Like, the best DPOY footage for AD this year are the moments where he's not on the floor. Like, that's when you really get the point. I have a lot of empathy for AD. I have zero empathy for the Lakers as a group, but I have a lot for AD in this moment.
Now, as far as this moment goes, I mean, the Lakers are going to be getting on a plane to Memphis. This question has come up, you and I were discussing, I've seen others discussing it, whether with the 10 seed, it's not sewed up entirely yet for the Lakers.
We'll know more by the time the Lakers would be playing on Friday. We'll continue to know more about where they'll be.
But like, the odds are incredibly high that the last time I checked, there was a graphic that ESPN put up. I don't know if anything changes at all because of the Suns beating the Clippers tonight, but the Lakers are considered an 87% chance to be either the 9 or the 10. And I would imagine
I think it was 60% to be the 10.
Right. So that means that a lot has to work in their favor for them to get out of the 10. Knowing that LeBron does not feel great, knowing that Anthony Davis does not feel great, knowing how important it's going to be for those guys to be at their best if the Lakers are going to just try to win an uphill battle to get into the playoffs. Would it make sense for those guys to not go on this road trip at all? Would it make sense for them to, at minimum, miss the Memphis game, and then you see how things look on Saturday, and maybe they fly out to New Orleans Saturday night. Like, play the odds, play the percentages a little bit, and maybe just concede 1-1 to finish the season, whatever, you're going to be the 10, and just have those guys as fresh as possible for the first of 2 play-in games.
Look, there's a logic to it. I mean, the Warriors play tonight in Portland. So, I mean, that is technically a road game. They play Friday against the Pelicans at home, and then they finish the season on Sunday against the Jazz at home. So, I mean, I don't want to say 3-0 is a guarantee there. They could certainly lose a game. But that's what
if it ain't the Pelicans, it ain't likely happening.
Right. And so, no, I think it's just, can they play or not? If they can play. It's too much of an advantage to punt before you find out you can't do it. I mean, heck, even if it turns out something gets clinched or whatever, even pull LeBron in the middle of a game if you get locked into a seat or whatever it might be. But I wouldn't do it until then. Interesting news. Speaking of the Pellies, Andy, interesting reporting about what might be coming this offseason related to the draft picks that the Lakers owe the Pelicans because of the Anthony Davis deal. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. It is playoff time approaching for both the NBA and the NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and really easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
So, assuming I have the logistics of this correct, I think I do. The Pelicans have the opportunity to basically take the Lakers' first-round pick this year, or they could elect to do it next year based on the sort of the remainder of the Anthony Davis trade. Mm-hmm. Kevin O'Connor at The Ringer wrote, I believe it was Wednesday, might have been earlier in the week, and we're just getting around, but I think it was Wednesday, that the Pelicans are likely to allow the Lakers to keep their pick this year, which is interesting on a few levels. It is obviously very important and will be impactful for the Lakers' off-season strategies about how they approach, whether it's the draft or a trade market to try to bring in another star or whatever it might be. We've heard the Trae Young rumors, we've heard the Donovan Mitchell rumors, we've heard a lot of stuff, and obviously that pick becomes hugely important. It's a potentially reflection on the perception of this year's draft, even though the Lakers could be a late lottery team as far as draft position goes. It is also, Andy, I think, a bit of a referendum on where the Pelicans think the Lakers are headed next season. So a lot to potentially unpack with this news, assuming it's true.
I mean, as remarkable as it is what LeBron's done in terms of being able to play at this level, 21 seasons in, this year being actually one of the healthiest seasons he's had as a Laker, just bodily science says at some point this will stop. There's not been a body in the history of bodies that at some point does not stop cooperating. And the Pelicans may feel like the Lakers have perhaps pressed their luck as far as it can possibly go in terms of, LeBron and AD, that window. They may feel like the window, frankly, their opportunity may have shut a couple years ago, and where they are now is indicative of where they'll be next year, if not worse. And either way, you're talking about a better draft class. Like I said, if they're looking ahead at this year's prospects and feel like, there's nobody we're that wild about, at that position, we really have very little.
17 this year, whatever it is. Draft evaluators seem to agree that this is a pretty weak class.
Right. They may feel like we have nothing to lose by just rolling it over. At worst, we're no worse off than where we are right now. At best, maybe the draft goes a little bit deeper and we do better.
I think it's interesting because I think what in part New Orleans is betting on isn't even necessarily that the window is closed on the Lakers overall as a playoff team. Although I think there is some of that. I think there is significant downside. The Lakers are one Anthony Davis injury away next year from being a potentially ordinary team if the same group returns, we'll say. What I do think it says, though, too, is as a regular season team, because remember, draft position is based on your win total for the year. I think what they're saying, though, in part is we don't think they're going to be able to do much better than they're doing now. Like, we don't see the Lakers going from a mid-40s team to a 55-win team. That doesn't mean the Lakers can't do damage in the playoffs as a 6 or a 7 if LeBron is healthy, if AD is healthy, or whatever it might be, just as they did last year. The Lakers roster could improve and all these other things. But as a regular season team, we don't think they're on the rise, whereas we think we are. And it's generally borne out. I mean, look, they're ahead of the Lakers right now in the standings. And if you had to pick which team do you think would be, win more games next year, I'd pick New Orleans.
That regular season way of framing is actually a really good way of looking at it. Other than the year the Lakers won the championship in 2020, in the LeBron era, they have not been higher than a 7 seed.
Correct.
That is the highest they've been in the LeBron era. And, we were talking about actually on, I want to say it was Wednesday's show, the idea that as, again, impressive as what LeBron does is, it doesn't change the fact that there is a lot of maintenance and pacing himself and a lot of hedging your bets with the idea of it will pay off in the long run for the postseason. And, this is a necessary evil. There are certain concessions that have to be made. And one of those concessions that I mentioned was the idea of the Lakers ever being a high seed during this LeBron era. Like, if nothing else,
it makes it harder. Yeah, it makes it harder.
Yeah, if nothing else, even if you believe that the Lakers championship window has not completely shut, the idea of them entering the playoffs with home court for a round or two, that likely has shut unless things break really well for them.
Right. Look, New Orleans is 2 games better right now in the win column than the Lakers, 2.5 games overall. I also think it's New Orleans looking at next year's draft class. It's maybe 4 or 5 positions in the draft this year, whatever, so on and so on. But it's also like you look at the West, you talk about where the Lakers are going to be regular season versus playoffs, win totals, what kind of seed. This stuff matters. Like, it's like we talked for Wednesday's show. It's like this idea that the seed doesn't, like, where you finish doesn't matter is sort of abstractly true if you put kind of certain guardrails around that. Like, does it matter really if LeBron and AD with a good team around them are the 4 seed or the 6 seed? No, I don't think it really matters. Does it matter if they're the 3 seed or the 9? Yeah, it matters.
Well, but also
go ahead.
Really quick, if you're talking about them as like a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or 10 seed that has to play their way into the playoffs, that by definition means you also think that they are a team that could miss the playoffs.
They could bottom out. Exactly. And so, but you're talking about, you're projecting that the upper end for a win total for the Lakers next year is somewhere in the mid to high 40s. Like, that's probably the max. And like I say, significant potential downside to that projection for New Orleans. And, it's not foolproof, but it makes sense. And then I think the last part of that is, if you're the Pelicans, you look at it and you say, okay, well, Denver's going to be very good again next year. I mean, again, we're assuming health for people. Denver's going to be excellent. Oklahoma City is improving. Minnesota is improving. The Clippers, who the hell knows? I'm gonna be honest with you. But the Mavericks seem to be improving. That roster is better now, certainly, than it was at the beginning of the year. The Pelicans,
Memphis, if they've got their roster again, that roster's good.
Memphis is back next year. The Rockets are improving. The Pelicans, I think, look at themselves and think we are improving. At some point, the Jazz are going to stop quitting halfway through seasons and see what happens. It's just, I say this less about like what are the Lakers, and we didn't even get into how this impacts the Lakers, and what they might do with that pick. The fact that you have a pick now in a weaker class versus maybe a better one. But it is an interesting sort of futures bet, if you will, that the Pelicans are making on the Lakers. That is, I don't know, it didn't make you feel great. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if we learn more about the status of LeBron and AD heading into Friday night's game against the Grizzlies. Obviously, Sunday, New Orleans is the regular season finale. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, so we can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers. Leave us questions, leave us comments. We try to respond to as many as we can on the board itself. We use them as inspiration for talking points. We try to quote people directly when we can. We will see everyone tomorrow.